Hello and welcome to Spencer's Library. I'm Claudia, and this video was inspired by an article I recently read in The Guardian. The article was titled "Women Better Represented in Victorian Novels Than Modern Find Study." This article is a summary and a comment of a study by Ted Underwood, David Baman and Sabrina Lee, which was published in the Journal of Cultural Analysis earlier this February. Both of these articles are linked in the description box, so please check them out. This study compiles some really interesting data about female characters in novels and how they are described and represented over the course of 2 centuries. It also looks at novels that were written by women over that time and compares that to the representation of female characters. Now, as part of my PhD, I also study British women's cultures in the first 2 decades of the 19th century, so I wasn't really surprised by the findings, which were, firstly, that women were represented in a generally more positive way 200 years ago, and secondly, the majority of novels back then were written by women. At the turn of the 19th century, most forms of creative expression weren't really accessible to women. Painting, composition, playwriting, poetry, they were all the domains of men. But the novel, which in Britain at that time was only just emerging as a mainstream form of literature, was immediately occupied by women creators. Pretty much for the first time, women could read and write about their own experiences. Of course, when I talk about the novel being accessible to women, I mean accessible to educated, upper-class, rich, privileged women with time on their hands. This was a period in British art that we now call the Romantic era. This is a time that gave us Shelley and Lord Byron, William Wordsworth and many others whose poetry we still recite and analyse and who have become part of British cultural history. But while these romantics were redefining the poem, women gave us the novel. Those novels cover so many different themes and subjects, from the gothic horror of Mary Shelley to societal commentary of Jane Austen. Many women-authored novels now come under the heading of the domestic novel because they are mostly set in the home, which was, of course, the domain of women back at the time. These novels deal with issues that women faced during their lives, issues of class and society, friendship and love, equality, self-expression. Of course, their female characters tended to be well-developed, thought out, 3-dimensional, real people. And yet, most of these works have not made it into our literary hall of fame. In fact, the 2 women I just mentioned, Mary Shelley and Jane Austen, are arguably the 2 most well-known of their era. But their work is among a host of other female-created novels, all wonderful works that were written in the 19th century. In their own time, novels were not considered a serious literary discipline, but often seen as immoral and sometimes even evil. They were thought to corrupt young female readers in particular with their trivial, sensationalist contents. It's funny how little has changed in our opinion of these early novels. How many times have you seen a man just squirm at the idea of reading Jane Austen or dismiss her novels as trivial romances? As the 19th century progressed, however, and more men started reading and writing novels, public opinion, surprise, shifted. Novels became art once men got involved, and at the same time female characters stopped being the heroines of these books, and the decline of the representation of women, as pointed out by the study, progressed throughout the 20th century. Once an art form that is cultivated by women starts being practiced by men, women tend to get pushed to the side. So no, it doesn't surprise me that women were better represented in the early 19th century than they are today. I wanted to finish this video with some early 19th century book recommendations, but to my shame, I have not yet read enough of that period myself to be comfortable giving out recommendations. However, I will just mention the book that I'm currently reading from that era. I'm reading this on my Kindle, and by the way, a lot of these books are just freely available for nothing on Amazon as ebooks, so I urge you to go and have a look on Amazon, get a few on your Kindle for free and see if you like them. So the book that I'm reading now is called Belinda by Maria Edgeworth, and it's a domestic novel from 1801, which I'm enjoying quite a bit at the moment. In this novel, the heroine, Belinda, has to navigate London society, which is full of people who are trying to get her to find a man and get married. But the most interesting relationship, in my opinion, is between Belinda and her chaperone, Lady Delacour, who is this very dramatic, very interesting character. Please comment below with your early 19th century recommendations. I'd love to hear them. And tell me what you think. Thank you for watching. Bye. Every time